Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know that Senator Ossoff is over there watching your wonderful family and taking notes because he's a new daddy. And if you have time, he'll show you pictures. But indeed, we have all enjoyed hearing about your family and your parents and how hard they worked to open doors of opportunity for you. And look at how you went through those doors and really created such a wonderful life. And I mentioned yesterday that I would hear from friends in Tennessee, and so many of them talk about they like how you have pushed those barriers aside because a lot of them have had to do the same thing to kind of make their way into careers. And so they've appreciated that very much about you. And I'll have to tell Senator Booker, now I like the fact that he talked about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And when my daughter was in high school, I actually bought that poster, and I've probably told Senator Klobuchar this before, but I bought that poster of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and they're dancing, and it says, "I took every step he took, but in high heels and backward," just to make the point with her that she was going to have to work hard. And indeed, she accepted that challenge, and I'm really proud of her, like I know all parents are proud of their children. I do want to get to a couple of things, and we do have the vote on the board. Yesterday during our discussion, you had mentioned that you were unfamiliar with some of the statements that I had read back to you, your previous statements and writings, including the statements on child pornography and critical race theory. I was a little surprised by that because I know the White House has worked really hard to prepare you for the hearing. So I wanted to introduce documents just so that we have those in the record, Mr. Chairman. The first document is an article in which you're quoted as praising the progressive curriculum at Georgetown Day School. The quote appeared in the winter 2019-2020 edition of Georgetown Days magazine. You stated, and I quote, "Since becoming a part of the GDS community 7 years ago, I've witnessed the transformative power of a rigorous progressive education," end quote. Second document is a transcript of a 2012 hearing before the Sentencing Commission at a time when you were vice chair of the commission. The topic was child pornography offending pathways community treatment. You stated during the hearing, and I quote, "I had mistakenly assumed that child pornography offenders are pedophiles." So I went back and pulled that to show that it was a statement and not a question. So, Mr. Chairman, I ask permission to enter those.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We talked about abortion yesterday, and I want to go back to that. On abortion, I had another question there. Some have argued that bills seeking to protect children who survive abortions are unconstitutional. They say that the right to an abortion includes the right to an effective abortion. So, in other words, does the constitutional right to an abortion include the right to let a baby die if that baby unintentionally survives an abortion? I'd like to know if you agree with that.
Thank you, Senator. Issues like the one that you have raised are in the court system now, and as a result, as a nominee to the Supreme Court, I'm not able to opine about the constitutionality or not of the kinds of legislation that you mentioned.
Well, one of the main factors the Supreme Court is considering is deciding whether to uphold Roe in all of this, and with precedent, is if all of this is a settled issue or not. And some of those that are on this about whether it is to an abortion or an effective abortion, and if that constitutional right includes the right to terminate the life of a baby that survives that abortion. So that is an issue that will be decided before you go to the court. But I think it's important to have that discussion. I do want to go back to the issue about the child predators. And as you've heard, Senator Blumenthal and I are working on legislation. Senator Klobuchar's got some legislation that deals with technology. But I want to ask you this because of some of the questioning, and it's just a yes or a no. Do you believe child predators are misunderstood?
Senator, I don't have a context for that. I believe
I'm going back to the comment on the Sentencing Commission. As you said, that not all child predators were pedophiles.
Senator, I believe that all child predators are dangerous, that the behavior that they engage in is horrible,
Okay.
that it needs to be taken seriously by the court and by Congress in setting the penalties for their behavior.
So, is it your position that child pornography offenders are not pedophiles?
Senator, I believe that the statement that you referenced was a part of a hearing before the Sentencing Commission in 2012.
Right. It was a meeting, yes.
It was a
I've got it
meeting,
right
and
here.
what the Sentencing Commission does is it
Right.
reviews evidence about various things, and I believe I was
Right. And as I said yesterday, the children that are victimized, they don't understand the difference between an offender and a pedophile or a pornographer. And I do think it's a distinction without a difference. Let me ask you about gun rights. Violent crime is rampant. We have seen that during the last year. It's making people really nervous. Pulled some stats. In 2021, 27 major U.S. cities experienced a 44% increase in homicides since 2019. Over a dozen cities set new homicide records in 21. And a lot of families no longer feel safe. So they're buying guns, they're buying ammo, and trying to make certain that they can protect themselves. And in times like this, I think we're really fortunate that the founders afforded such constitutional protection as the Second Amendment. So very quickly, walk me through what current Supreme Court precedent says about the Second Amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Current Supreme Court precedent says that under the Second Amendment, there is an individual fundamental right to keep and bear arms in the home, and the opinion focuses on those circumstances.
Okay, and so you agree it is an individual right and not only reserved to militias, because there are some that keep trying to say it's only reserved to militias. But if my memory is correct, you base this on District of Columbia versus Heller, that it is an individual
Yes, ma'am,
right.
that the Supreme Court has established it's an individual right.
I wanted to get that on the record because I don't think anybody had asked you that this entire time. Here's another question. I've asked other judicial nominees that are coming to us for the district court and the appellate court, and I've really not gotten a satisfactory answer from anybody. So why is it constitutionally permissible for the right to keep and bear arms, which the Supreme Court has recognized as a fundamental right, and you agree with that, why is it constitutionally permissible for this right to be subject to the discretionary issuance of a license by a local official?
Thank you, Senator. The Supreme Court is looking at that very issue in a case before it right now. And as a nominee for the Supreme Court, it's important that I not speak to it because the court is deciding this question. It has a pending case. I believe arguments have even occurred related to it.
So should other unenumerated rights be subject to the same type forbearance, having to get a local license? Should someone that wants an abortion have to go before a government bureaucrat? Because the Second Amendment, that right to keep and bear arms, is enumerated in the text of the Constitution. So the question would be, why should it have to have an extra burden?
I understand the question. It's one that the Supreme Court is looking at, and consistent with past practice and the need to ensure that I'm not speaking to issues that are live.
All right, then let me move on. I want to turn to some of the sentencing decisions, and particularly your decision to grant criminal defendants compassionate release. And you have an unmistakable pattern of releasing criminals with dangerous backgrounds into the community, and the COVID-19 pandemic seemed to exacerbate the trend. To name just a few examples, you use the COVID-19 pandemic as justification to release a fentanyl drug dealer, a bank robber addicted to heroin, a convict who murdered a U.S. Marshal back on the streets. And at a time when violent crimes, including homicide, are spiking all across the country, and we're facing an opioid epidemic driven in large part by the trafficking of fentanyl across our border, how can you stand by your decision that these offenders do not pose a danger to the community?
Thank you, Senator, for allowing me to answer this question. The statutes that govern judges and that allow for compassionate release are policy determinations that Congress has made to permit individuals who are in various circumstances and various stages in the system to seek release. People who are detained after their final sentencing can seek something called compassionate release. People who are detained between when they've been convicted and when they're sentenced.
Not to cut you off, but time's going to run out. We do have, this is a question that I have been asked so much. Here's a stack. These are the ones that you sought for compassionate release. There were 1,561 that were detained in D.C. Department of Corrections. And your statement, and this was in the opinion that you issued, it was U.S. versus Wiggins. You stated, and I'm going to quote you, each and every criminal defendant in the D.C. Department of Corrections custody should be released because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in that same opinion, you lamented the fact that you as a federal judge were limited in your ability to order the universal release of criminals back onto the streets. And I am shocked that that would have been your position, because people are they are just really concerned about crime in the streets. So do you stand by your position that it would have been the right thing to do to release all of those prisoners back onto the streets during
Senator, that was not my position. In that opinion, United States versus Wiggins, I started off by explaining that given the compassionate release system and the COVID-19 pandemic, it would seem as though that was an extraordinary and compelling circumstance. But 2 sentences later, I say, we can't release everyone. There are people who are too dangerous to release. And so even in Wiggins, I decided that he had to remain incarcerated, notwithstanding his compassionate release motion. So the point, the sentence that I have there, I did say, but I said it to lead up to my statement, which was the actual ruling, in which I said, we are not releasing everybody. We're not opening the jails.
And Judge, you know, to lament that you were limited in your ability to order the release of all, that is what causes, that is a judgment issue. And that is what causes the concern with that. Let me go to the critical race theory issue, because you were asked yesterday about a speech you gave in April 2015 when you had stated, and I'm going to quote you again, that it melds to, when you were talking about sentencing, it melds together myriad types of law, including critical race theory. And you told Senator Cruz, I think it was, that when you made that statement, you were talking about decisions regarding sentencing policy. You said, and again, I'm going to quote, I was talking about policy determinations. None of that relates to what I do as a judge. I take that to mean that you don't make policy determinations when you're making sentencing decisions as a judge. So today, in response to a question from Senator Grassley, you said the exact opposite. You said, and I'm going to quote you again, I have at times identified various enhancements that I have disagreed with as a policy matter because the Supreme Court has said that that's the authority of a sentencing judge in our system. So given that you admitted you made policy determinations in sentencing and you stated that you consider critical race theory in sentencing policy, let me ask you again, do you consider critical race theory in your sentencing decisions as a judge?
Thank you, Senator. Critical race theory, any academic theory, is not considered in my sentencings. It never comes up in sentencing. It was not what I was talking about in the speech in 2015.
Okay. I appreciate that. I do have one intellectual property question I'm going to submit to you for writing. You've had a long day.
Thank you.
And you've been very gracious. And I think that these are tough questions, but this is part of our doing our due diligence and meeting our responsibility to the people that we represent. And they expect this of us. And as I mentioned, they've been very engaged in this. As some have said, you know, I think I would like her, I don't agree with her, or I agree on some things, but not on everything. But they want to know what you're going to do when you get on the court, because their kids and their grandkids are not going to have the opportunities that you have had unless we keep this nation free. So it demands your best, and it demands that you go to the Constitution first. In your opening statement, I pulled this, and this is where I'll end with you. You say, I've been a judge for nearly a decade now, and I take that responsibility and my duty to be independent very seriously. I decide cases from a neutral posture. I evaluate the facts, and I interpret and apply the law to the facts of the case before me without fear or favor, consistent with my judicial oath. I wish you had said, consistent with the Constitution of the United States. Thank you so much, Judge, for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. This